Hello kindreds, welcome. Sorry, just adjusting. Let me know if you can see me and hear me. I just had to go and grab a little bit of water, sorry, before we started. So we're going to be talking about the astrology of March, but before we crack into that, let's just see how everyone's doing with this Virgo full moon, because we are in the Virgo full moon at the moment. We are building up to the full, let me see what time it is here in the UK. I can let you know how many hours it is from here so that you will know. So it is at so 12:30 p.m. So we're over the peak of the moon. We're like 3.5 hours past the peak. So yeah, it's I don't know about you, but I've been feeling quite practical today. Like I've also been doing some things like looking at finances and stuff like that as well. So I don't know how you've been feeling it. Oh hi, oh good, I can see some chat comments coming through so everyone can see and hear. That's really cool. Hey guys, hey Millie, hey Shannon, hey Rowan. Good. So people can see and hear. That is brilliant. So I've got my notes in front of me. I've also got the Astara Tarot. I pulled this one out because once we start getting around to March and April, it feels like the right sort of time to be using this deck. It's a very kind of spring energy deck, which is really nice. And I've made a blog post for the dates. What I was finding is that I basically make a list of the major things that are happening anyway for the month. So for the month, sorry, not the month, because we are going calendar month here. I'm just so used to saying month because in my membership we work month to month. You know, we work new moon to new moon and full moon to full moon. So oh good. How's everyone doing? So Siren, hi Siren. Hope everyone's doing well. Good morning from Canada. Shannon's been tying up loose ends. That is very Virgo moon energy, on point for that. Liz went to yoga this morning, cleaning house. Yes, very good. All very Virgo moon. I didn't think finances, like for me, Virgo is my 12th house. So sometimes I find this full moon a little bit like, there's like unseen stuff, you know, that 12th house being the kind of hidden house. It's like, there's unseen things that I didn't foresee that I was going to be looking at finances and stuff today. But then we kind of needed to have a little assessment of what was going on. So me and my husband sat down and like had a look through our finances and stuff. I was like, when we were doing it, I was like, this is very on point. And that was probably like around the exact time of the full moon as well. So that's really funny that was happening. I'm going to have a ritual tonight because I do want to be using this moon a little bit for like kind of clearing space for a release. So I like to time that then a little bit after the time of the full moon. So yeah. So yeah, like I was saying, I tend to prepare for doing these live streams. I will make a note of basically all of the major things that are happening in the month. And I was like writing that out anyway. And so I was like, well, I may as well just turn them into blog posts. So that makes sense. So I've linked, it should be linked in the description of this video, the blog post that goes along with this video. And it's got like a whole list of the key dates, which if you're into astrology, which I know lots of the people here, because I recognize names and members and stuff in the chat as well. So I know lots of you here are into astrology, so you'll want to know the why. You know, it's not like, oh, at the beginning of the month you might be feeling like a little bit more expansive and stuff like that. We will, but like it's because why, you know. So I try and put these transits in there, but then I've also got a section which is about practical applications, which even if you're not into the astrology side of it, like you don't want to know the kind of nuts and bolts of it, then those practical applications will still be very relevant. So yeah. Wonder why I cleaned house yesterday. Yeah. Liz doing the ritual this evening. Yes. And Michelle's facilitating the local moon circle tonight. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, I love Virgo for healing, for it's so good for like calming as well. I find like sometimes like Virgo can be kind of opposite like that. It's like very overstimulated in some ways because it has got that Mercury ruler. So sometimes it's like got to organize all the things. It's got that kind of busy energy, but it's also because of that ability to be that earth and air kind of blend. It also is very good for healing because it allows us to kind of see where our patterns are and then be able to drop back into our bodies, and things like yoga and stuff like that are so excellent. And just tuning in and kind of being mindful and finding that mind body connection is so Virgo moon. I love that. Yeah. Okay, so shall we start? Let's have a look at March then. There's quite a lot happening, but it's quite concentrated. So it's like there's quite a lot happening in certain days of the month, and then we get little sections of a few days where it's a little bit quieter, which is really nice as well. So it's a little bit variable. And like the main kind of stories of this month are, what did I call it? Dynamic energies and new beginnings. If like in the Northern Hemisphere, we have the spring equinox this month. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, obviously you'll be having the fall equinox or the autumn equinox. But it's basically that kind of tipping point, isn't it, in the year of light and dark. So we get that idea of like balance and tipping. So it's got a very dynamic quality, whether you're in the Northern Hemisphere or if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. So we're definitely feeling that kind of burst of energy. And when the spring equinox is when the sun moves into Aries. And so, we got the sun, which is literally the center of our universe, moving into Aries, which is the very first sign, which is the fiery, initiatory energy sign. So when the sun moves into Aries, it's like, boom, it's really, it makes us all filled with that kind of initiatory energy. And Aries is a Mars sign. And so Mars becomes more dominant in this part of the year as well. So we'll be looking a little bit about what Mars is doing this month, which gives us that kind of balance as well. But then there are other things going on as well. Well, let's just go through it. Let's go through it a little bit at a time, because like the overview, like I said, there's transformation possible now because of the way things are. And this year, the way the astrology is falling is like quite concentrated. It's like all the planets are kind of bunched up together in the same place, and everything moving forward as well, pretty much, which is making us feel like, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling like I've got momentum now. I'm feeling like it's that whole thing about like a body in motion stays in motion, but a body like not in motion stays still kind of thing. And I feel like I'm in motion, and like as long as I can kind of keep that momentum going, that feels really good. Yeah, transformation, Hayley. Yeah, brilliant. Love it. Shah's been organising, cleaning and organising. Yes, that's very like on point for for now. So key dates then, and we're going to start off March the 1st, which we're kicking off the month straight away. When we got the sun, for the first half of the month, well, first 2/3 of the month, the sun is in Pisces. So the sun is already in Pisces, so we're kind of getting used to that Pisces energy. We've got a lot of stuff happening in Pisces. We've got Neptune and Saturn are there, which have been there for a long time together now, kind of co-present. But the Sun and Mercury are also into Pisces as we're going into March. And so we've got that kind of dreamy quality of Pisces. And sometimes like that's really nice a lot of the time. But it can also tend to make us a little bit more daydreamy, sometimes even like prone to look for escapism, so if you've got like tight deadlines and you find yourself like drifting off to watch Netflix, then it might be that kind of Pisces energy that is going on, and wanting to we want to just kind of like go with the flow and relax, and we don't necessarily want to have these kind of like deadlines and things. But then when we get to that point in the month where the sun moves into Aries, then the energy changes quite a lot. Like when we think about that's basically the astrological new year point, because Pisces is the last sign and then Aries is the first sign. So I always find that kind of like every time we cross a sign boundary, every time the sun especially crosses a sign boundary, hi Carol, there's a big change in energy, because every sign has got like a kind of dynamic polarity with the one that comes before it. But when it is the very last sign and the very first sign, I think that's why spring feels so springy, it's like that dynamism is amplified because it's the last sign to the first sign, and it feels like a new year. It feels like a fresh start, a new year. So if you have been feeling like you're still kind of dreaming on your goals and stuff like that, I've set my goals for the year, but I've set my kind of overarching goals. I haven't set like the fine details of what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to worry too much about that until we do get the sun going into Aries, and then I'm going to start like being like, okay, now this month I'm going to do this, so it's that kind of nuance as we're working through the year. Okay, so March 1st, Sun in Pisces is making a sextile with Jupiter in Taurus. So that is, I feel like that might be a lucky day. Here in Wales, March the 1st is St. David's Day. It's our patron saint's day. I know like lots of people who are kind of pagan, which I suppose I am. I'm kind of like pagan-Christian. I don't know how I would describe it really. I suppose more like Celtic Christianity is like not new Christianity at all in any way, but I definitely have like Christian elements still in my practice. I think it's the folk witchery, you know, brings those Christian elements in, but pagan really, I suppose at core, you know, goddess is is the underlying presence behind it all. But still, because Wales as a country is that's where I'm from. I'm an Indigenous person from Wales, and like it's such a tiny country. There's only 3 million people in the whole of Wales, and it's been like kind of owned by England for a very long time now, you know, for a few hundred years. And it's because of that, the people of Wales, who would originally have been the people of the whole of Britain, they kind of got pushed into Wales, you know, because Wales is like kind of the western point. So as the invaders were coming from the east, they kind of pushed the Welsh out too. And Welsh literally means like stranger, other. That was the English word for those people, you know. Whereas in Wales we say Cymru, which means like companion, compatriot kind of thing. So it's like a whole different thing, you know. We kind of pushed all the Welsh people into Wales, and so St. David's Day does feel kind of relevant to us, you know. It does feel, people tend to feel more patriotic perhaps when there is more history of oppression, perhaps, I don't know. But yeah, St. David's Day is kind of a big deal. But because of the astrological alignments that are happening on that day, it does look like a kind of a lucky day as well. Like Jupiter and the Sun kind of forming this bond together. We've got the kind of dreamy Pisces spiritual influences combined with the earthy Taurus Jupiter influence, and I feel like it might be a good day to buy a lottery ticket maybe, or definitely some kind of dream big in some way. So yeah, I feel like that is a good day. You also probably will feel like your confidence is boosted on that day as well, so it's really nice. What's Siren saying? The ancient Romans March 1st is a new year. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So I didn't know that. That's really cool. So St. David's Day is the start of the year. Makes so much sense. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, Carol. I think I made an adjustment to the chat to try and stop trolls from being in here. So it's now set so that only people who have been subscribed for like more than 20 minutes or more than 15 minutes or something can post comments. Because sometimes we get like people popping in just saying random stupid stuff. So men usually. So March 3rd. So March 2nd kind of just carries on, but not quite as lucky as March 1st. Then March the 3rd, we've got Venus in Aquarius, squaring Uranus in Taurus. So that's a square aspect. So it's a little bit more dynamic. It's creating a bit more disruption perhaps, because as well, Venus in Aquarius is kind of a little bit erratic in itself, but then because it's squaring Uranus in Taurus, like Uranus is if you're going to use one word to describe Uranus, it probably would be erratic. So we might get some like unexpected happenings or like some upheaval in our day-to-day life around that 3rd of March point. Perhaps even in relationships as well, because Venus often can be an indicator of things happening in relationships. So if you do have like a kind of awkward day on that day, then you can blame it on the stars. The way that I understand astrology is that it's not controlling us. We are just reflecting it. We're like mirrors to each other, you know, the whole as above, so below kind of thing. So that's the reason why I like to see what's going on in the sky, because then when I see it happening in my own life and when I see it happening in the world at large, I find it kind of comforting, you know. It's like there is a pattern to things. So yeah, I like to think, I'll take better care perhaps to make sure my communication is very clear, because like with Pisces and with planets in Pisces, especially with Mercury in Pisces, our communication might be a little bit unclear, you know, so they might be like lies perhaps, or maybe not even lies, but like kind of subtle untruths. And so on that March the 3rd, you might find that, you know, they've got that little bit of friction. There's a potential for friction or a potential for like unexpected maybe even unexpected things come into light kind of thing, you know, around that time. And then March the 4th, we've got Mercury in Pisces sextiling Uranus in Taurus. So again, involving Uranus, and again, well, differently, we've got Mercury, which is in Pisces. But because it's a sextile, I feel like that will be bringing maybe like something surprising, but something helpful out to the woodwork. So again, we might be getting some communication, we might be getting some information, especially dreams. I think that the first part of the month when the sun is in Pisces, this is a really potent time now to be taking note of your dreams and really kind of understanding, oh, happy birthday for March the 3rd, Carol. That's a nice day to be having your birthday, even though it's a little bit perhaps unexpected. But yeah, the first part of the month when the sun's in Pisces, you might already have noticed actually, especially around this full moon, that dreams are kind of amplified, they're magnified at the moment. So you might want to take note of that, start noting down like the symbols and things in your dreams. I saw a post on Facebook a couple of days ago by Mary Greer, who wrote Tarot for Yourself and loads of other like good tarot resources. And she shared about an app. I can't remember the name of it now. I did download it. I haven't really properly looked at it yet, where you can kind of record your dreams and it offers some ideas for like the dream symbolism. And dream symbolism is kind of very personal, but there are sometimes kind of like archetypal stuff which comes up in dreams. So I thought that was kind of a cool idea. But apart from that, it's like a way of recording your dreams. But like, you know, you can just keep a pad and a pen by the side of your bed. But I've done that for years. And then sometimes I look back at the pad and it's so scrawled, I can't even make out what it is, because I'm like, I must write it down as soon as I wake up, you know, wake up, scroll in semi-darkness, and then it doesn't make any sense to me later. So what I tend to do now is I kind of draw any symbols or things. I find a lot of the time it'll come through in symbols. Especially with the Pisces influence, we probably find that. So if you are having potent dreams at the moment, but if you are somebody who doesn't normally keep a dream journal, it might be a really good idea to be more open to that. And March the 4th, where we've got that Mercury in Pisces sextiling Uranus in Taurus, we might be able to uncover some things, some like helpful information, some like change making information, which will help us to move forward in our own like healing journeys. Because like we're all on healing journeys, we're all carrying like baggage and stuff around with us. So, well, the vast majority of us are. I don't want to speak for everybody, but from what I've observed, many of us are kind of struggling with things, and so we are on healing journeys while we're here. We're kind of figuring out things, how we are like woven into the whole web of everything that is, and we should get insights around that. Shell says, try not to wanting to note the dreams of late because they've been nightmares. Yeah, so that's the thing, is that sometimes, especially like I say, when sun's in Pisces, we will get nightmares as well, you know, because that's also another form of like kind of communication coming forward. But I think sometimes when you pick them apart, I had one the other night and I woke up and it was like 4 o'clock. It was 4:04 when I woke up, and I was like, oh, you know, and it feels like it's never going to go away, does it, when you wake up from a nightmare like that? But then when I started kind of thinking through the symbolism that was in it, and there was a lot of like water and drowning symbolism, that I could kind of see what it was, I see them as like communication. And sometimes it's like scary communication, like people might choose to watch like a horror movie or a scary movie for fun. I try and kind of distance it from myself a little bit like that, you know. So it's like, oh, that wasn't such a pleasant dream, but I can still get some information from it, kind of thing. But yeah, take note of symbols and things that are coming up. And it might not just be in dreams, it might be just kind of around you as well on that day. You know, you might get surprising communication from all kinds of, from surprising places, you know. That's the whole thing with Uranus, is like, we don't know how it's going to pan out. So it's like, just expect to kind of be surprised in a way, and see what happens. So that is March the 5th. And then we've got a slightly quieter, oh no, hang on, that was March the 4th, when Mercury in Pisces. I should have some kind of highlights so I can see what I'm doing in here. Actually, yeah, looking at my notes, I also wrote that it might, some of the information comes through might be to do with like resources as well, because Uranus is in Taurus at the moment, which is to do with kind of like resources. It might also be to do with relationships as well, because Venus is the ruler of Taurus. So, you know, just be open to receiving communication, which is kind of like perhaps surprising. Like sometimes when we receive surprising information, it's almost like a kind of cognitive dissonance, and we're like, oh no, that can't be right, you know. But just kind of try and stay open-minded. Maybe just record it. Like maybe if you do like divination and stuff like that as well, you might get a surprising reading or something if you do a reading on that day. And if your kind of temptation is to be like, well, no, that can't be right, maybe just kind of note it down, and then later on you can kind of look back on it and see, oh, maybe there might be something in there. It might not be, like I find when there's a lot of planets in Pisces, the communication is almost kind of like Yoda-like, or like the witches in Macbeth like, you know, it's riddly, Sphinx like. It doesn't come, it's not straightforward communication. It is like kind of coded, symbolic communication. So we have to like run it through a decoder, or we need to like note it down, and then later on sometimes is when we realize, oh, that meant that. You know, it's not until we look at it later. Yeah. And then the next day on March the 5th, we've got quite a potent day on March the 5th. So we've got Mars in Aquarius, and it is sextiling the North Node in Aries. So because Mars rules Aries, it's kind of ruling that North Node. So that is like a Mars connection going on there. And I feel like that day will be a very like forward moving day. It might also be quite a, I wrote supercharged. Sometimes it can be like a little bit fractious, you know, it can be a little bit aggravating as well, and because Mars is in Aquarius at the moment, it might be a good time to kind of like stay away from crowds and things like that as well, because Aquarius is kind of like a group mindset kind of thing. So you might find that on that day perhaps there's pressure on you to kind of conform to a certain way of thinking, or perhaps you're trying to change group thinking, and you're trying, you know, it's a North Node connection, so we're trying to kind of move towards a greater understanding, a more kind of expanded understanding. But maybe not everyone around us is quite there yet. So just take care on that day. Like I say, it's very potent, but just not everyone is necessarily going to be on board. So just bear that in mind, and then, you know, that should go nice and smoothly then. That is March the 5th. Like I said, all of this is noted down, so you don't need to be like, I know some of you guys write it down on your calendars and things like that as well, but it is all in the blog post, which is linked below this video as well, so that you can, like, I'm obviously giving a little bit more about all of the points as we're going through them here, but the kind of bones of it is all in the blog post, so you can take it from there. And then we've got a slightly quieter couple of days then, until we get to March the 8th, when we've got Mercury in Pisces joining up with Neptune in Pisces. Oh my gosh, just as I said that, it went to 22 on minutes of the stream, and I was like, oh, okay. So I feel like that is going to be a very, like we talked about already about Mercury and the way that communication can come through, especially through like dreams or through symbols or through signs or through omens. And so we're going to be like, even though that is exact on that day, this whole period of time, the first couple of weeks of March, I've got this kind of this dream communication quality to them, which is why I'm saying like keep a dream diary, or keep note of omens and things that you're seeing, or if you have like, if you do tarot readings or anything like that, keep notes of that, because it's something that you're going to want to refer back to. But yeah, when we've got that Mercury and Pisces connecting with Neptune, it really enhances our like our intuition and our communication, like our kind of inner communication, but like I said, in a kind of coded way. So we do need to just take care that, because sometimes Neptune can be like a little bit illusory as well, a little bit kind of fantastical. And so like the way I think about it is like, Neptune is the god of the sea, and so when you are looking at something through water, the picture's not quite clear, is it? Because the water's kind of like swirling around in front of it. So we just need to take care that definitely record all the insights, collect all the insights, but just don't take them as like stonewall fact, because there may be some neons that we don't get until like a little bit later on in the month. So just be kind of like a sponge and just kind of just saving all those downloads, you know. So I'm downloading my dreams, I'm downloading my tarot readings, I'm downloading any signs I see in nature, or, you know, like a billboard that pops up in the back of the bus, or that I keep seeing this repeated number again and again and again, you know, things like that. Keep note of that at the start of this month, but don't don't be too narrow with your interpretation, I guess is what I'm saying. You know, the way that things pan out doesn't always, like when somebody gives you a riddle, it's like in all of the like the Greek tragedies and things like that, like in Macbeth, you know, the witches give those prophecies in Shakespeare's Macbeth, and Macbeth thinks it means this certain thing, so he acts in a certain way, but then it turns out that those prophecies could kind of come true in a way that he hadn't foreseen. So just be aware of that kind of potential with Neptune as well. And still collect them all, still download them all, but just be aware that it may not be, everything may not be exactly as it seems. Yeah. So I said, while this transit can inspire creative insight, a brilliant day for creativity as well. So like if you do any kind of creative, especially like visually creative stuff, that will be a really lovely day to do that. You might want to kind of like download what you're doing, do kind of like intuitive painting or free writing, something like that. You know, it'd be a really beautiful day for doing something like that. Okay, and then the next day on March the 9th, we're back to Mars. We've got Mars in Aquarius squaring Uranus in Taurus. So we talked about Mars in Aquarius as well. It's like that kind of wants to lead the group in a certain direction. Usually has quite a strong idea about how it should go. It's a very kind of like activist vibe. Mars in Aquarius, it's like we need to change things and we're going to change them by force kind of thing, you know. And then we've got Uranus in Taurus, so we've got the kind of unpredictability, but in Venus's sign in Taurus. So when those things come together, it's like you might find that people are trying to kind of force you into doing things that don't feel aligned to you, or perhaps you're the one doing the forcing as well, you know. So just be aware of that energy, really. I said tense and unpredictable potentially. But on that same day, we've got the Sun in Pisces also sextiling Uranus. So that's kind of softening. A sextile is kind of like a nice aspect. It's not as like powerful as the trine, but it's kind of like a smoothing out aspect as well. So it could be that is quite an active day, and it could be a day where we start to put some of our downloads and information that we've had. We might be trying to kind of like make change in the world with that information, and yeah, the Sun is kind of supporting that from Pisces, but it's a little bit kind of nebulous and a little bit unpredictable. So yeah. Liz, I'm working that day for an open house. Okay, yeah, on the 3rd. Yeah, so I don't know if the chat is a little bit behind because I feel like I'm far on ahead of that, but that is all good. So where are we up to? So that was March the 9th when we got those two kind of things going on the same day, and then on the 10th of March, Mercury moves into Aries. So that is when we start to perhaps have a little bit more clarity, because Mercury has now moved on from that conjunction with Neptune. Has moved out of Neptune's sign, out of Pisces. We're now going to be a little bit more direct with our communication, because that planet of communication is now in Aries, which means that we'll start to be like, and other people will as well, you know. So instead of talking in the kind of roundabout Piscean way, communicating through symbols and signs, it'll now be very direct. It's like, say what you see, say what you mean kind of thing. So that is when you might start to sort of see the truth, or the kind of the underlying stuff behind all those downloads you're getting in the first like 10 days of the month. I keep saying moon. I'm just so used to saying moon because I'm always like moon this, moon that with the Moonwise members. So yeah, it feels funny sometimes talking about the month, because a month being, you know, full moon to full moon or new moon to new moon, rather than calendar month. Yeah, so Mercury moves into Aries, making a sextile with Pluto as it does so. And so I think that day is going to be really, really good for like deep insights as well, especially around things that maybe our kind of relationships with other people, how we interact with other people, especially like work colleagues and things like that as well. We might be like, there's a potential for some really good aha moments on that day. And like I said, that information won't be so kind of coded. It will be more direct and clear. So we'll be able to kind of like trust it a little bit. It might be a little bit like, you know, there's definitely a balance between direct communication and like kind of blunt and sometimes a little bit aggressive communication. So it feels like, you know, if you're the sort of person who prefers a more gentle communication style, you might not really enjoy that energy. But I feel like it is definitely going to be more punchy, more direct then, and the communication we will receive and that we will be giving out to other people will be more kind of direct from then. And yeah, like I say, lots of good insights on that day and around that whole kind of time then, really, like from the 10th, 11th, 12th of March. And on that same day, we have our new moon in Pisces. So Mercury's moved into Aries, but the sun is still in Pisces, and the moon has joined the sun in Pisces to make the new moon. And that new moon is looking really lovely. Obviously, I will do, oh, hi Karen. I will do a video about the new moon, which I will be sharing now on the channel. They were like for members only before, but I'm going to be doing the new moon videos now on the channel. So I'll be uploading a video for that with more, it's like a whole like half-hour long, just about the moon kind of thing, and the ways you can work with it and stuff like that. So be on the lookout for that. But basically this new moon is looking, it's been similar to the last couple of like lunations we've been having, the last full moon, this full moon that we're on today, and the new moon previous. There is forward motion, there is the things happening, change happening now, even though it's like the last, kind of like the last new moon in a cycle, because it's a Pisces moon, so it is like the end of the sign. The way I'm seeing it is like we're concluding things because we're ready to move on now. We're ready to kind of keep that momentum up, and so be ready to kind of flow with that when we get to the new moon. And if you want to be bold and daring and also dreamy, you know, bringing in that Piscean energy as well, you can really kind of dream big around that new moon and start to make plans as well, you know, like concrete plans of how we're going to put that into practice. It's around, I know, a little bit later on than that, we're going to do a session for the people who worked on my workbook, this Vision Your Year workbook. We're going to have another session with Michelle, who's in the chat, who is a life coach, and she's offered to help us to kind of like make our goals more smart, more concrete. And so that's really like just so perfectly timed with everything that is going on in March. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. I think it's gonna be really good, and it's definitely got that energy of momentum to it, and I think it'll be even more so then amplified if we do the work now in this Pisces new moon to be able to kind of conclude things, leave things go that don't need to kind of be taken with us, and also to dream big and to be quite bold as well about what is coming in the future. Then we're going to be ready when we get to that Aries new moon, you know, the next lunation it'll be like boom, then, you know, we'll have done that preparatory work. And that's how it works when we're working with the moon cycles. You know, you're always working with it as you go through, building on what you've been doing. Yeah. Yeah, intentions, I said, especially things to do with like spiritual growth, creativity, emotional healing. The Pisces sun season is very much about healing in lots of respects. It's also got a lot to do with like introspection, meditation as well, because it connects with the Hermit card. So we've got that idea of like turning inwards and really figuring out what our own light and how we kind of bring that out into the world. And so any kind of goal setting and things around that will be really, really powerful. Yeah, Shah, so the moon video, that'll be up a few days before the new moon, so you'll be able to watch that. You know, it can be nice to do it as part of your new moon ritual or in preparation, so that you kind of know what you want to do for your new moon ritual then as well. Yeah, okay. So March the 11th then, Venus enters Pisces. So I'm so excited about this day. Just take a little sip of water. So Venus is my ruling planet. So I do feel like when Venus is in nice places in the sky, in the zodiac, it feels a lot easier for me. And Venus is lovely in Pisces. Venus in Pisces, we've got that kind of compassion, empathy, kind of spirituality, very goddessy, you know. So I'm seeing that day as being a really lovely one for, it'd be a really good day for like a self-care day, especially like with it being in Pisces. It might be a really nice day to get like a foot massage. It might be a nice day to not be doing anything too onerous, you know. If you've got like, I don't know how that works out on what day of the week it is. Let's have a quick look. So what did I say? The 11th is a Monday. Oh. So if you have to work, which most of us probably will, you know, it's a Monday. So, but you know, try and find a space in that day where you can just kind of lean into that energy. And Venus is going to be in Pisces for a while now, you know, so it's not like it's the only time. We'll be having a whole period of time of Venus in Pisces where we can just kind of bask in that lovely goddessy energy. But like the transition day, the day when it happens, it usually feels more strongly on that day. So yeah, just kind of see as well, like see how you feel on that day, see how you are just like vibing in with it. Yes, Carol, it's iterative. Yeah, exactly that. And like if you have a few months where you kind of like, I don't fall off the wagon, but it's not really like falling off the wagon. Like we're always still caught up in the energies of what is going on. We're just not so kind of consciously, we're not kind of like working with it so much. We're just kind of going with it because we have to. It doesn't matter because then we can come back to it. That's what's so lovely about it. We never miss our chance because it all spirals around again. It all spirals around again, and we can just join back in again, which is lovely. Yeah. Okay, so that was the 11th, and then we've got like a quiet few days then really where there's not like loads of major changes happening. So I think that's going to be quite nice, that period from the 11th to the 17th. So it's kind of like that week will probably be a fairly like chilled week, or if you've got some loose ends and things to tie up, then you can be doing that in that period of time as well without kind of having to contend with any new energies. You know, we're still kind of doing the work of the stuff that's come before. So that's what I meant when I said at the beginning that this month has got like some periods of time where it's like literally I'm like almost every single day there's something happening, and then we've got a few days where there's not, you know, almost a week where there's not anything different happening. So Shannon's, that's good timing for you then, Shannon. You can use that to prepare for your vacation. Yeah, like sometimes when there's a period of time where there's no major transits, if the transits that we have been in have been lovely, then we just tend to stay in that lovely energy. If the transits that we have been in are like a little bit more challenging in some ways, then we tend to just have a little bit more time to work with those challenging energies. Also, it depends on your own chart. You know, like what I'm doing now, what I'm talking about here is what's called mundane astrology, which basically means talking about astrology in a general way, the way that it interacts with all of us, because you know we're all here and we're all connected, and we're all connected with what is going on, you know, in the world, in the universe, with the stars. Everything is connected because we're all made of the same stuff. But then our particular composition of the stuff that we're made out of is our own birth chart. And so we can look ourselves, like if you've got Venus in Pisces in your own birth chart, then when Venus goes into Pisces now in March, that will feel even more wonderful and beautiful because it's like, oh, this is my home energy. This is my, you know, I've got this goddessy signature in my chart already. So it's, yeah, you know, we can layer it in with our own charts and kind of see where things are hitting in our own charts as well. But like, you can't do that like talking to people like this in a kind of YouTube video where there's lots of different people with different charts. And that's why obviously as astrologers, you know, we offer one-to-one consultations and things like that as well to see how it's specifically affecting you as well. Our team's got Venus in the 12th house in Gemini. Yeah, so in a not so long, like later this year, you'll be having a Venus return then as well, Tina. Yeah, Charles says nothing happened on the Ides of March. So it's slightly quieter period of time around that week of March we've got going on there. Yeah. And then it starts to get a little bit busier again around the equinox. So on March the 17th, we've got the Sun conjuncting Neptune in Pisces. So when any of the planets conjunct the Sun, especially, like when any of the planets conjunct each other, they're always setting off like a new cycle. It's like when two people meet together, like say it was Venus and Mars, or like two people, Brad and Angelina or whatever. I don't know where that came from. But it's like they meet together and they have a meeting, and then they kind of go their separate ways for like, depending on the different cycles, like a year or 2 years or 7 years or 20 years, you know. And it's never 20 years because Pluto doesn't lap around like that, but you know what I mean. It's like different periods of time for the different conjunctions, different planets that are happening. It's always like a reset of that relationship. But when it is the sun, it is like even more so, because the sun is that center, the center of the universe. So it is when the sun joins up with the planet, so when the sun is joining up with Neptune, it's like it kind of swallows in Neptune. Neptune will disappear from the sky because it'll be like under the sun's beams and then gets swallowed up. And then it kind of gets birthed out again anew. So it's like a reset, a really kind of, a rebirth, a birthing of that planet again. And so it means that it's giving us like a new potential, a new possibility of that planet. It's almost like a reincarnation of that planet. And like that is what happens every month when the sun and the moon come together at the new moon. And that is why the new moon is so powerful, because each time the moon is being birthed anew, and bringing these new potentials, these new energies in. And so, but then that only lasts a month, and then we have it again, then we have it again, whereas with the other planets, like with Neptune, it's going to take the sun a whole year, well, slightly longer than a year, to go all the way around and meet Neptune again. So it's got different, it's got a kind of longer lasting significance then. So when the sun rebirths Neptune, it's like bringing that dreamy quality to the fore again. So, and this is happening in the last like couple of days before the sun is about to leave Pisces altogether and go into Aries, which changes up the energy in a very kind of significant way. So, yeah, it's like, I wrote on the notes, it's a really good opportunity for like spiritual renewal, because Neptune often represents the kind of spiritual, and Pisces also represent that kind of spiritual sensual renewal, an opportunity for us to like connect in with our bodies as well, our bodies and like our souls. It's that kind of coming together of soul, spirit and body, and being able to kind of rebirth that. And that is on a weekend. It's on a Sunday for us in the UK when that is happening. What time is it happening? Let me have a look. Why can't I see that on here? Sun, Neptune. Oh, it's because it doesn't show. I'm looking at my honeycomb planner, sorry. And it doesn't show the outer planet transits in the day-to-day things, because it is it's too much to show in what is going on. Yeah, it just says a 27 degrees. I'll have to look it up in the ephemeris, and I won't do that now because you'll all be just sitting there bored while I'm doing it. But yeah, it gives us that opportunity to like have a rebirth in that aspect, in our kind of spiritual aspects, in our healing journeys as well, and in our journeys with kind of getting to know our emotional kind of intuitive self. Oh, okay, thanks Liz. So it's 7:22 a.m. so it's early in the morning, so it's probably like kind of midday for us here in the UK around that time. So yeah, Tina's saying, how can I best navigate my Venus return? Okay, so you definitely like just look it up, really, like if you want a super in-depth advice on that, it's best to get like a consultation with an astrologer, but you could definitely look up like what does Venus in Gemini mean, and how would that manifest in the 12th house, and then kind of look at Venus returns in general. Venus returns don't happen super, they're fairly regular, because Venus doesn't take that long to travel all the way around the Earth. It's one of the faster moving planets, so we do get Venus returns every year and a half kind of thing. Yeah. Yes, I think it'd be about midday for the UK. Yeah. So yeah, I think that day is going to be a really kind of soul searching kind of day, and maybe a really good day to try not to be over scheduling ourselves as well. We don't want to be like in a big busy hubbub of stuff if we're doing this kind of like deep soul work. You don't want to be like really going to a party or something on that day, if that is, if we want to kind of really be able to think of that Hermit card. We want to be kind of drawing our energy in on that day, so that we can, and of course, because when something is dying and birthing, then you don't want to be like the energy around that is not going to be like, you don't want this kind of like roaring party energy around it. You want it to be like a kind of cozy, safe energy around that, and for people, like for good births, people need a kind of cozy, safe environment where the oxytocin can flow and stuff like that. So that's what we want on that, to kind of cultivate on that day. And I think that would be I think it's going to be a really powerful day. Neptune's in its own sign of Pisces, you know, so that doesn't happen all that often, that the sun's going to be making these conjunctions with Neptune in Pisces. Like it has been happening for the last few years because Neptune's in Pisces, but it won't be happening too much longer. Yeah, in fact, maybe it's the last one if it's at 27 degrees. Maybe there's going to be one more. Yeah. Right, what else? Practical tasks. I said practical tasks may take a back seat as we immerse ourselves in the realms of imagination and intuition. So yeah, it's not going to be a day for doing tasks, not really a day for like partying or being with lots of people probably. It's going to be a more inward focused day, and that should be really lovely. And if you do like make art, it'll be a very like creative day as well. But if you just want to take a really peaceful, quiet day where you don't really do anything, you know, thinking that Venus is also in Pisces at this time as well, so that's adding a lovely kind of sensual quality to it as well. Like it might be a nice day to maybe, yeah, like have a nice bath or something like that, and just kind of journal and get in touch with yourself. And then on the 19th, we've got a more dynamic day because we've got Mercury conjuncting the North Node. So that's happening in Aries. So we've got that dynamic, that kind of fire quality. So we've gone from that kind of watery Pisces, Neptune and Pisces quality to this dynamic Aries quality. So it's definitely like a kind of endings and beginnings, and like bringing things to a completion and making space and finding the kind of will and motivation for how we want to move things forward into the next year, which I think is exciting this month. It's looking really exciting, and there's a lot of supportive aspects this month as well, which are going to really help us. Well, it just shows that things are moving nicely now. We've been having quite a bit of astrology over the last few years, since like sort of 2020. There's been showing that we're having difficult times, and I think this month actually looks quite good. Like, you know, there are some challenging things, definitely, they always are, but there's also some really nice kind of things going on as well. Yeah. So Mercury conjunct the North Node, and communication definitely on that day, perhaps insight into something that we want to do, something that we want to take action on, you know. Sorry, this kid's like playing with a ball. I say kids, like teenagers playing with a ball, like right in front of me, in front of my house. So sorry if you can hear them in the background. I don't mind them doing that, but as long as you can't hear them. Yeah, it offers opportunities for, oh no, that's, which one am I on? Information overload. Yeah, okay, so that's sometimes when we have the North Node is like often a place in the chart where like lots of stuff is coming in. So you might find on that day on the 19th, when we've got Mercury and the North Node together, is there might almost be like too much information coming in as well. So if that is happening to you on that day, then just be aware that that's fine. You know, that is what's happening. It's not going to be something that carries on forever. It's just like that kind of that couple of days around there, and just write it all down, and you know, you can process it. You don't have to process it at the same time. You can just process it as you go through, and that'll be fine. Yeah. And then on the 20th, the Sun conjoins Mercury in Aries. So well, it goes into Aries. So that is when Pisces season ends and we start into Aries season. We have the astrological new year, and it feels like, well, you know, spring. It feels like it's the spring equinox here in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's a balance tipping point. It's like we can't go back now. We've tipped over the edge, and now it's like we've been going up the hill, and we get to this top point, which is the equinox point, and we're balanced perfectly, and then it's like whoosh, you know, and then the momentum is really there to go down that hill then, because of the stored energy, because of the work that we have done to get ourselves up to that point, and then we can just not coast, but you know, it's like we've been propelled forward. That now, you know, well, not now, when we get to the 20th of March, we've got that energy kind of bringing us there. I said a powerful time for initiating new projects, initiating leadership as well, because we've got that Mars energy, and we've got the Sun in Mars. The Sun loves to be in Mars. It's a kind of really nice fit of energies together. So it brings that kind of like higher ideals to the Aries sign, where we can, sometimes Aries can be a little bit too like assertive, I suppose, and sometimes a bit self-centered as well sometimes, not on purpose, but just because they're so like focused, they can't see what else is going on, or they don't see the other, they're just focused on their own track, you know, full steam ahead kind of thing. But the sun in Aries allows that to be a little bit more kind of soulful, and as long as what we're doing, our kind of the plans that we've got are like aligned with our purpose and with what we want to do, with what we're supposed to do, with what we're here to do. Like the sun is our core purpose, and so when we are doing things in alignment with that, it will just everything just is easier and it manifests better, because it's like that's why we're here. So we can make that movement, we can make that, it just flows, like I said, more easily. Sorry, the dog's barking out, the kids playing with the ball outside. Oh dear. I swear, it's like very, very quiet where I live. I live in this like sleepy little village where nothing very much happens. I'm sure every time I press record, it's like stuff starts happening. Sometimes it's stuff though in my own house, like the dog and my washing machine and things like that. So yeah. And then the 21st of March, so just after that that movement into Aries season, we've got the sun in Aries sextiling Pluto in Aquarius. So we've got that kind of transformative. So anytime we're getting those Pluto connections, it's given us those kind of death and rebirth possibilities. So like deep transformative energies are available to us now. And I think Pluto feels more active now it's in Aquarius. Like I feel like when it was in Capricorn, it was almost like very buried in the earth. And because Capricorn's a very like slow moving sign, it didn't feel as like accessible, the energy. Whereas yeah. Yeah, so now it's in Aquarius, it feels more accessible somehow. It feels more like more immediate, more quick. Yeah. Yeah, so catalyzing change and evolution. We've also got Venus joining Saturn in Pisces on that day. So Venus is making her way through Pisces while in that after she's obviously gone in there, and she joins with Saturn that has been in Pisces for a couple of years now, or maybe a year, but it feels like forever. And when Venus conjoins with Saturn, Venus is stronger in that particular dynamic, because Venus in Pisces is strong. And so Saturn is weakened in Pisces and is like not very helpful often in Pisces. So you might find that you may want to overindulge on that day. It's not really a good day for like work projects or anything like that, but it will be probably, I don't know, like it depends. Like it depends how strong Saturn is for you in your own chart as well. Like if you're Saturn ruled or you've got a lot of Saturn energy in your chart, then you might be more naturally kind of boundaried, in which case it might be good, you know, it might feel good for you, that influence. But if you're more like Venus inclined, then you might feel a little bit restricted on that day in some ways. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that one will pan out really. But like I said, Venus is kind of got the upper hand in that particular meeting. She's kind of meeting where she's strong, whereas Saturn is not strong in that connection. Yeah, I said it could encourage the establishment of compassionate structures and enduring commitments. Yeah, like a commitment in a relationship might be something that is indicated by that aspect as well. So yeah, there's so many possibilities for how that could pan out. I think it's hard to kind of say this is how it's going to work out, you know. And like it's always like that with astrology. It's like we can kind of make best guess based on things that have happened before when those things have happened, but it's never all exactly the same. So oh, hi Crystal, no problem at all, welcome. So we are up to the 22nd of March when Mars moves into Pisces. So Mars has been moving through Aquarius, now moves into Pisces. And so Mars going into Pisces, it's like we've got that Mars fiery energy going into like watery, dreamy Pisces. And so sometimes things can get a little bit steamy. Sometimes it can make us act on our dreams more, you know. So like we get to choose as well sometimes with some of this stuff as well, you know. It's like it could pan out like this, but we can, when we know these influences, we can be like, oh, but I prefer it to pan out like that, so that is how I will act. And then I'm kind of enacting that energy and everything's aligned then, you know. It works. I mean, a lot of astrological magic is just basically based on that. So we can make things happen easily when we work in alignment with what is going on. Yeah, Crystal, the replay will be up when we finished as well. We're just kind of getting to the end of the forecast and of the astrology forecast, and then I'm going to pull some cards from the Astara Tarot then for a reading, just like a kind of energy reading for the month as well. So we're actually on 54 minutes, so I was thinking that this would all be done in an hour, but you know, I do tend to talk quite a bit, so but it's nice hanging out and being with my kindreds and interacting with you guys. So yeah, thank you, I appreciate you being here. So we've got a whole period of time then with Mars in Pisces, so there tends to be that slight like irritation of dreams. So we might find we do get a little bit more nightmares, or perhaps we're just like a little bit less tolerant with fantasy, or if we don't want those manifestations. Oh, thanks, Shannon. I'm glad you enjoy the long lives. We can also, like I say, we can kind of be more proactive and be like, okay, I'm going to actually use that Mars in Pisces energy to bring that focused energy, that kind of momentum to my dreams, to kind of make my dreams be coming forward. And you can look at where Pisces is in your chart as well and be like, okay, that is the house in my chart that it is in, and see like how, if Mars comes in there and is infusing some energy into that area of my chart, like say it was in your 10th house, you might be finding your motivation to do things for like your job or your career might be emphasized more in that time. Or perhaps if it's in like the 7th house, you know, your relationships might be more emphasized by that. So, you know, try and layer that in if you can, if you know that information as well about your own chart. It's always handy to look at that. Crystal says, I enjoy listening. I don't think anyone will mind that it's longer. Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad. Yeah, it's nice. I enjoy hanging out as well. It just seems to go so fast. I think the time goes really quickly. It's nice just hanging out and chilling with you guys. What have we got else? So we've got a full moon coming up. I think there was something else before the full moon as well. Oh yeah, Venus in Pisces. Okay, so this looks nice. March the 24th. We've got Venus in Pisces, sextiling Jupiter in Taurus. So we've got like a mutual reception, because Jupiter is exalted in Pisces, rules Pisces, and not exalted in rules Pisces in traditional rulerships. And Venus, like I say, is at home in Taurus. So they're in each other's signs and they're forming a sextile to each other. So we've got this lovely, like benefic, lucky, sensual, expansive, like if you're gonna have a party sometime around this time would be really nice, or if you're gonna arrange like a romantic dinner or something, that would be really nice. Again, you know, like look at where in your chart this is going to be, like what is your Pisces house, what is your Taurus house, and you can kind of see, okay, so that might play out like that. I actually have got a family party around that time, so should work out really well. Yeah, it's a nice, so probably again a day where you're not going to want to be like getting too much practical work done, and I feel like I've said that quite a few times during this month. So there are definitely days where there's a lot of focus and a lot of drive, but there's also quite a few kind of dreamy days this month, and I feel like that's going to be quite a nice dreamy day as well. So yeah, so that should be really nice. A contented kind of sensuous day. Yeah. So says, thank you for all the work you put into this video and blog post every month. Oh, you're welcome. Like, for me, it feels like not anything extra, because like I was doing all this stuff for myself. So it feels really good, actually. I feel really blessed to be able to share this with other people as well, because, you know, and the people enjoy it. I really, really love that, because I've been doing this work for such a long time now on my own, and it feels really nice to be like sharing that, rippling that out to other people. So yeah, thank you for being here and just being part of it all. It's really lovely. I really enjoy it. Okay, so there's only a couple of points left, but one of them is a big one. On the 25th of March the 25th, we've got a Libra full moon, which is also a prenumbral eclipse. So it's not a total eclipse, because we get total eclipses when the moon and sun are very close to the nodes, and so it is kind of close-ish to the nodes. The nodes are in Libra and Aries, but it's not so close that it's like a total eclipse. So we've got that like a partial eclipse kind of thing going on. And it is a South Node eclipse because it is happening around the Libra, in Libra, where the South Node is. And when we have a South Node eclipse, it's often to do with like letting things go. Libra is already the sign of like other, of relationship, of kind of like decentering ourselves and kind of centering the other. And so I'm wondering, like, is this eclipse going to be a really good opportunity for, oh, you guys, group hug. It's going to be a really good opportunity to, well, what I'm going to use it for, I don't usually like do spellcraft on eclipses because it can be a little bit like, you know, you're never quite sure exactly how it's going to go. But, and I'll do a whole video on this for people, for Moonwise members. I know there's lots of Moonwise members here in the chat as well. So I'll be making a full video about this guidance for the moon, and we'll be getting our new goddess and everything as well. But I'm wondering if this eclipse is going to be a really good time for letting go of like limiting, not so much even limiting, tendencies in us to overgive to other people and to kind of like to center other people at the expense of ourselves. It's almost like a kind of martyr vibe, because then we never feel good when we like, if you're centering other people and you feel good, then that's not a problem. It's when we are centering other people and then we feel resentful because we feel, we know we're being taken advantage of, but we don't know how to kind of like claw back the dynamic and get it feeling healthy again. And I think around this eclipse, like maybe not on the exact eclipse point, but around this eclipse would be a really good time for doing some work around that. And that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be doing some unpacking around that, because like I feel like I've been working on this stuff so much. I feel like I've done this work, but then there's always seems to be more to do as well. It's like, just when I think I've like centered myself in my own life, you know, things happen, things change. I'm like, oh yeah, maybe it's time to kind of upgrade that area again, you know, kind of circle back to it again. And that's so wonderful, like we're saying about this work, is that it is iterative. We do come back to the things again, to the themes again that we need to work on. In my own chart as well, I have got the nodes in Libra and Aries in my own chart. So that kind of polarity between Libra and Aries, self and other, is very like on point for me. Yeah. Yeah, what's Michelle saying? Very much appreciate this. Astrology often goes over my head. Oh, yeah. So I hope that it makes sense when I'm talking about it like this, because I'm trying to give enough of it that people who are following along with the astrology can kind of be like, oh, yes, this and this. But also, if you don't have, you know, if you don't know, and like there's so much, isn't there, with astrology. Once you start learning it, you realize, oh, wow, there's a whole world of stuff that I didn't know. There's always so much to learn. But yeah, hopefully it kind of hits on a reasonable level for everybody. This I've noticed a lot of health things come up with the moon in Libra, which is just, yeah, 6th house. Okay, so yeah, when we get eclipses, so eclipses are kind of like supercharged moons, aren't they? So when we have them in houses that are a little bit more difficult, then just think of it as like a reset in that particular point. Like you're probably not going to want to like be pushing yourself hard health-wise around the time of the eclipse, definitely. But you can, it's an opportunity to reset. So if we're having that reset happening, especially as it's a South Node eclipse, so a South Node in the 6th house, it could be like literally letting go of some health problems. You know, we're going to let those seep out of that South Node and be like, bye, that is not going to be part of my life ongoing. You know, that's what I mean about working with it in a proactive way. We're not like victims of fate with this. Like there is definitely an aspect of like of determination with it, because it is, we're in it. We've got our own personal birth charts and we're in this kind of energy that is happening with all of us around us, but we can be proactive with it. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of it. Yeah. Sarah says inner work is never done. I know, right? It's so annoying as well, isn't it? I wish I could be like, yep, tick, I've done that, but it just never works out like that, does it? It's like I've got to keep circling back to this stuff. And like you do obviously unpack more and more of it each time you go around, don't you? And sometimes you have like big breakthroughs, and sometimes it feels like you're just kind of ticking along. But it does, we're moving in that direction, which is really good. And like sometimes we don't move in that direction, sometimes we move backwards, and that's fine as well, you know. And then we can build up some momentum to push further forwards again. Yeah. Well, Karen says it's definitely accessible and helpful. Oh, that's great. That is great. Yeah. April 8th this year. Yeah. So that's obviously coming up next month. We've got the big eclipse happening, which is going to be affecting a lot of the United States, especially because it is like I feel like when we have eclipses, especially total eclipses, they are affecting everybody, even in areas where they aren't visible. But when they are visible, it does seem to, like, just anecdotally, I feel like it affects those areas where it's visible more. But we'll see. Our ancestors were very nervous of eclipses, and I think it's wise to be kind of like cautious about them. So like some people will like bathe their crystals on an eclipse and like soak them in the eclipse energy, and I'm like, I don't think I would do that. But like if you wanted it for something specific, then maybe, it makes sense. It's like everything, isn't it? We like think this is what the energy is of this particular moment in time. How can I best work with this energy? I'm in it anyway. I've just got to kind of figure out the best way of working with it for me. Yeah. So this is this eclipse on my best friend birthday on top of the Aries stellium. Okay, yeah, so when it's hitting off parts in your chart, especially if it's like a direct hit on stuff in your chart as well, then, you're going to definitely notice it. It's not going to be something that is like just background noise. It's definitely going to be like full volume, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bad. So we work with this. We work with those energies. So that Libra eclipse we've got coming up towards the end of the month. And then the only other aspect then that I've made a note of is on the 28th, we've got Venus in Pisces, sextiling Uranus in Taurus. So again, we've got when Venus making a sextile to her own sign, it is to Uranus. So we have got that kind of disruptive energy. But I think this is going to be like a fun disruption, it's going to be like a Venus disruption. So something unexpected, but nice, a nice surprise. Whereas sometimes when we get Venus in Uranus conjunctions, it can kind of be like a not wanted surprise. So yeah, I think that's a nice way to get like, and then it's quiet then for the last few days of the month, so after that eclipse, we got a couple of days to kind of settle back down. We've got that one transit at the end of the month, and then it does kind of settle down, it soothes down a little bit then. So yeah, I think overall it's kind of a mixed bag. There is that kind of dreamy energy, and then we've got a more dynamic energy, and then we've got those busy days and those more quiet days. So yeah, it's a whole soup of stuff that is going on, and hopefully by having that, and like I've given some practical applications in the blog post, like I'll just give you some of the headings. I've put seize opportunities, because there's definitely opportunities for making things happen in March. Also staying flexible. So there's going to be when we've got all those Uranus transits where things are going to be happening that we're not quite sure of, we need to be able to change courses of action, because we won't necessarily be able to be like, this is exactly how I want things to pan out, because most likely things won't pan out exactly as we planned. And that's okay, like if we can adapt, then that is fine. We need to bring that kind of mercurial adaptive quality to the mix in this month. And like that is one of the good things in this month, is one of the good things about having been in now this Virgo moon, because we're kind of soaking ourselves in that Mercury Virgo energy, and that's going to give us what we need to take us into this period of time that is happening. So I want to kind of like soak in some of that, mutable energy, changeable energy, being able to go with the flow. Embrace intuition, because we've got all that kind of Neptune, Mercury and Neptune. We've also got Mercury hitting the North Node. So there's going to be lots of information, lots of downloads, to be able to just kind of take that in and process that. Maybe not even process it first of all, but take it in first of all, and then maybe process it later on. Initiate new beginnings. So we've got that initiatory equinox energy, where we're going to be, like I said, we kind of build up our momentum, and now we're like, whee, coming down the hill. It's like when people say it's all downhill from there, as if that's a bad thing. It's like downhill's the best bit. It's like, whee. So we have definitely got momentum in that part of the month. Especially when the sun has moved into Aries. Cultivate compassion as well. So with those Venus connections, Venus in Pisces as well, we've got the opportunity to really kind of and still Aquarius is still activated, with Mars being there for a lot of the month as well, with Pluto being there. It wants us to be taking into account not just our own needs, but the needs of others as well, but not to the detriment of ourselves. you know, that especially around that eclipse, around that Libra eclipse, it's time for us to be like, no, no more. I am not going to just suck this up anymore. I'm going to be like, that's my line, and I'm not going to, because like Libra, that's why when we have the equinoxes, they're in the signs of Aries and Libra, because those two signs are those poles of like self and other. They're those signs that tip the balance between us and everyone else, you know. And sometimes the balance goes too far one way, and sometimes the balance goes too far the other way. And like for most women in the world, the balance is much more focused on people pleasing other people than it is on actually getting our own needs met. And so we can take back some of that and like we can release some of that on that eclipse. Yeah. So we're at 70 minutes. I'm going to shuffle this deck. I love this deck, the Astara Tarot. I've pulled the Strength card out of it because we're working with Strength this year, and it is my favourite Strength card. I love it. So it's probably going to be a little bit faded compared to the rest of the other cards. So it's been on my windowsill. Just pop it back in. It's a bit weird, this deck, in some ways, because it is being created by 4 different artists, so it's got quite different vibes. Also, some of the court cards are a little bit weird. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, is that a fire card, or because there's some of the imagery is not quite super clear on the court cards. But in general, this is one of my favorite decks. It's also kind of a horrible deck to shuffle, and mine's kind of eased up because I've used it a lot now over the years. I can't remember when it came out. It's a few years. I've had this a few years now. So I'm going to take, I think, 3 cards. We'll do a kind of like time, a kind of moving through the month kind of vibe. And we want guidance as to kind of how we can best work with these energies over this month. Oh, okay. Right. So we've got the Empress. Beautiful. So, you know, we talked about that Venus in Pisces energy. There's a strong, like, and obviously there's a lot happening also in Taurus as well. So we've got that earthy Empress goddess energy. And so we can work with that. Look how she's got that bird's nest in her hair. You know, it's that spring, the spring energy, but not necessarily the Mars spring energy. It's the goddess, like, we notice the things that grow from the earth, don't we, in spring? It's like, oh, look, the nettles have come up, or, you know, the bulbs of flower and this kind of thing. But it all comes from the earth. So to feel like as we're going through this month, really connect in with that earth energy, with that goddess energy, like, you know, through grounding activity and all that kind of stuff. Oh, hi, Liz. Liz says, hi Jessica, not caught alive for a while, been listening as I drove home. Astrology always confuses me. But you've already got so many other ways of understanding the world, Liz, you probably don't need to worry too much about that. But I hope you've enjoyed listening. It's nice to catch up with you. I've missed seeing you. So yeah, let's lean into that earthy Empress energy through grounding, through that Venus energy, through doing stuff to satisfy our own earthy Venusness as well. So through sensual, like that might be through eating something we really enjoy, or it might be through like having a really gorgeous bath and then using like an oil with essential oils in it or something like that, you know, really just embracing that sensual Venus Empress energy. Yeah, so that's lovely, enjoying that. Okay, and then we've got our 7 of Cups here. It always makes me laugh, this 7 of Cups. She kind of looks like a 20s kind of flapper vibe waitress, and they're all like looking at her. It's almost like she's performing tricks, but she's losing. Like they haven't completely fallen over, but it looks like those cups are kind of gonna go. Normally, like with the 7 of Cups, it's gives us that idea of like having to make a choice without like a kind of illusion of choice almost. It's like I need to choose something, but I may not have all the information. So I feel like this is definitely leaning into that first part of the month where we have that strong kind of Pisces vibe where we're getting information, but we're not quite sure what it all means yet. But it's also got that kind of fiery energy. Oh yes, and the mask. So it's like, yeah. So I feel like this card is saying that at the start of the month, we're going to have this like kind of these intuitive hits, and we're going to be kind of collecting them. You know, we've got our plate of glasses. People are probably kind of like all looking at us as well, kind of thinking, what, you know, how is she going to react? What's she going to do with this information that she's got? And then as Mercury first moves out into Aries, and then as the sun moves into Aries, we've got more of that fiery energy kind of coming through. We'll be able to kind of, perhaps we'll be able to take the mask off at that Libra full moon, you know, and be like, this is actually me. I'm not going to people please. I'm not going to pretend to be something that I'm not anymore. I'm going to be more like direct in my communication. And also, like, I'm not here for your benefit either. I'm not performing for your benefit. Look how they're all like looking at her. But that is inevitably going to cause some, I say inevitably, like, I don't know, maybe she'll keep all those cups, but it looks like things are going to fall. So there does seem to be like some kind of emotional clearing out, which I think is what is going to happen around that Libra eclipse as well. So yeah, it's quite a very dynamic 7 of Cups. Yeah, interesting. I'll write these up as well into the blog post. Obviously, I haven't been able to do that in advance because we're only pulling them now. But I'll do a little write-up of them in the blog post and take a photograph as well. So if you want to see the cards in more detail, and I'll do like a little write-up of what they are. Oh, okay. And then we've got Queen of Wands, which again looks kind of strength cardy, doesn't it? In this deck. So we're working with strength this year because it is an 8 year. So we've already got the idea of strength, that idea of kind of like animal instincts and kind of higher self, and how those two things come together. And the Queen of Wands is such a kind of creative, potent force. So I feel like that's a really bringing together, it's like bringing together the Empress with that Aries energy. You know, we've got fire and we've got the Queen. We've got that water, that kind of empathetic, intuitive Queen. So yeah, we can bring, look, and she's even wearing that kind of blue, you know, in amongst all this kind of fiery Leo energy, that solar energy as well. So Sun in Aries, and that, so like we can bring, and you know what else it links up with? It links up with this, with our Dragon Rider, which is the card that I pulled for us at the new moon. So, you know, look at the similarities, I think, between these. The idea is that our higher self and our kind of goddess self, our, you know, female self often is in charge. We're leading from that area of wisdom, guiding, but there are actual strength and follow through and motivation and momentum is coming from our kind of physical self, our animal self, because we are both of those things. So yeah, we need to kind of bring those things together to be able to best move forward with these energies. And like, it looks kind of like look how the lion's eyes are kind of like shining torches out in front. It's like, I'm lighting the way for you now. Your way is kind of clear. And she looks kind of relaxed as she's just sitting there. The same kind of almost as the Dragon Rider doesn't look too worried. She's kind of like just chilling, riding a dragon in the sky. And so we can bring that idea of ease, we can bring that idea of grace, because when we're leaning into that like divine feminine, leading from our divine feminine centered selves, and not having to like perform for other people, then we can definitely like find more momentum. We can actually make changes. We can actually move things forward a lot better than you know, when we are forcing. If we try and force the lion, like through torturing it or hurting it, like we often do to our own bodies, you know, we'll say mean things about our bodies, that doesn't work. You know, you don't get good results, then you just get an antagonistic relationship. And like that Libra, again, that Libra eclipse is going to be very much about unpicking antagonistic relationships. So yeah, I feel like if we can find a harmony, find a way of bringing those things together so that we're not performing, we're not like masking, but we are leading kind of like from our higher self and enjoying and bringing our body along with us in a coherent way, and it's a partnership. It's that Libra partnership, but it's not a dictator partner, you know. It's a collaboration. It's a collaboration with everyone doing like the bits that they are best at, rather than like you're doing this bit because I'm better than you kind of thing. Yeah, it's like a reworking of the way that we understand power dynamics as well is coming up in this month. That's interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. Okay, so I'm going to just show you each of those cards again, and then we will say goodbye. I'm really tempted to press at the side of this, which I've never noticed on the live stream before. There's a whole bunch of little icons, which I think are like stuff that I can do, which I probably shouldn't do because I'll probably break something. But yeah, I'm just intrigued as to what these things are. Oh, I just saved a highlight apparently to my channel as an unlisted video, so I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, don't press the buttons, but I'm like, oh, I must press the buttons. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. Like I said, I'll write up these cards, I'll take photographs of them as well and put them all over in the chat so that you can, in the blog post, so that you can see the cards in more detail if you want to. I'm not sure, I'll have to probably watch back this last little bit and see what I said, or maybe I'll just say something else when I write it up on the blog and give my interpretation in the moment there over there as well. Thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate you. It's been really lovely to hang out. I know I haven't been making very many videos lately as well. I think it was the last live stream was the last thing I did on the channel, but I filmed a video today, which I'll put up next week, working with the Weaver's Oracle. Because one of the members asked about how I work with the Weaver's Oracle. So I've kind of done his long, kind of a deep dive into working with the Weavers. So hopefully that will be up, like I say, next week, and you can watch that. And then I'm thinking of some other videos and things I want to make for you for March as well. So yeah, really lovely to hang out. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you very soon. Let's say bye.